This is a countdown to another live stream. Technical difficulties abound, but we are here now. What's up, everybody? How are you? It's Keefe with a late night ghostcultmag.com live stream. I am trying to get certain things going after we shit the bed on Instagram here and YouTube a few minutes ago. Sometimes these things just happen. If you're out there and you can hear me, say what's up. A few people are here already. Yeah. Hope everybody's doing good on this Tuesday night. We found out late last night, or sort of last night, that Iron Maiden had made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the much derided and complained about and talked about the Hall of Fame, which I only like talking about uh, because I like complaining about it. What else can I say? But yeah, we're here to talk about all the things. And again, unfortunately, no TikTok tonight. But hopefully, we will get it all going momentarily. See what's happening here. I'm just trying to make sure everybody is coming on. Hey, Kristen is passing by. One of my favorite people in the business. Good to see you. Good to see you. So yeah, let's just take one more second. I'm just trying to get it to cooperate. Here we go. As people are coming on, thank you for watching. If anybody's out there again and you can hear and see me, say what's up, because it's already been a technical clusterfuck. But I will repost these on IG. It's too bad that this isn't working too well. But anyway, Iron Maiden up the frickin' irons. They finally made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm here to talk all about it. We're going to talk about who made it. We're going to talk about who didn't make it. Hey, Melissa, is that you? You're here. Been having some problems. My fiance is here. Love you so much. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Maiden getting in, who else got in, who got snubbed, who got in last year, because it's kind of relevant to what I want to talk about a little here, and then who I think should get in next year. Obviously, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame does not care about rock and metal fans, but maybe as more rock and metal bands get in, we will eventually have our day and our say. There's so many bands that have not gotten in. I did a similar stream last year at this time. It seemed to strike a chord with people. I thought I would do another one. I rejiggered it a little bit for this year. Obviously, a lot of people did not get in that I would hope would get in, or not even nominated, like some bands that I care a deep amount about. But hopefully this is the thing. But anyway, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. I can't get some of these things to go. All right. Anywho, so we're here to talk about Iron Maiden. Just in case you haven't noticed, we have content every day on our website. Ivana Riot is here. What's up? And 80s Metal Forever is here. Surely would have a lot to say about Iron Maiden on this joyous occasion of them making the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whether you like the Hall of Fame or not. We have an interview right now on YouTube that's kind of going viral. Our new interview, our exclusive new interview with Steve Von Till and Noah Landis of Neurosis. Their new album, An Undying Love for a Burning World, is out now. They surprise dropped it. Their new band member, Aaron Turner of ISIS, the band, and Sumac and Old Man Gloom and Siege Records, and formerly of Hydra Head Records, have made a huge impact coming in. And I'm pretty well chuffed about this, as the Brits say. Check that out if you're a fan of heavy and extreme music. Possibly my early album of the year contender. Just in case you're feeling tipsy, I will drop the tip menu in here for you. You can always join the conversation and ask questions for free, but if you're feeling like you want to give us a tip, Ghost Cult does make some money from advertising and some sponsorship stuff, but mostly we are just like a band. We are a DIY enterprise business that is trying to grow a real cultured metal community. No bullshit, no clickbait, no fake stories. Actual interviews with bands you care about, actual stories that matter, not what Corey Taylor always thinks and things like that. Anywho, that's our tip menu. If you're feeling tipsy, drop us a tip, but it's always not necessary. You know, too bad I couldn't get the IG to go. And there's our Cash App if you want to pause and tip on it. So let's just talk for a second about this Rock Hall class. This was the biggest class of nominees in history. The actual, in addition to Iron Maiden, Phil Collins, Billy Idol, Joy Division, and New Order, which really surprised me. I'll talk about that. Oasis, Sade, another surprise. Luther Vandross, and Wu-Tang Clan. And we're not here to debate the criteria which the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame chooses artists. They have included gospel and R&B and blues and rap from the very beginning. It really should be the Popular Music Hall of Fame or the American Popular Music Hall of Fame. There is a Heavy Metal Hall of Fame. Generally speaking, they do a very good job, and a lot of their stuff is integrated with charity that I like. But on the other side, I think that in the future years, they're going to have a hard time putting in the modern era of bands because they're putting in what I consider to be a lot of unworthy and also ran second level rockers. To me, I judge the Hall of Fame like the Sports Hall of Fame. And I know Hall of Fames that even relevant to metal or punk, it's like almost anti-metal and punk to have a Hall of Fame. But what I really want to talk about is you're either a lock or you're not. And the fact that there was a lot of debate about some of these artists, it's a little mind-blowing, like in terms of like credentials, or like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's own credentials say they don't count sales. It's about artistic merit, influence, broad appeal that's not necessarily tied to sales, genre defining, exploring new ground, not retreads. So on the surface, that all makes sense. And on the second hand, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we'll talk about it. Also, Luther Vandross and, like I said, Wu-Tang Clan. Very cool. Also getting in this year, there are other, I don't think there should be all these little subcategories. I think you're in or you're not in. So also getting in under early influences, Celia Cruz. If you don't know who Celia Cruz is, she's the queen of salsa. She is a legend of Spanish and Latin origin music. Fela Kuti, also humongously influential worldwide, also a political activist, also died young. Crazy talk. Thanks to Melissa on TikTok for getting the #1 badge here. Appreciate you. Dark Side of the Moon. I hope that's a Pink Floyd reference. I get that reference. Also, Queen Latifah and MC Lyte, two female pioneers of hip hop. Great rappers, not just lady rappers, but in general, legendary hip hop artists, as well as Graham Parsons, the folk rocker. Also for musical excellence, Linda Creed, Arif Martin, Jimmy Miller, and Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin will come up again later. We'll talk about why. And there's sort of a prestige old timers industry award, and they gave one to Ed Sullivan. Gigi Fan is here on TikTok. What's up, Gigi Fan? You've been here before. Nice to see you again. So let's talk a little bit about it. Maiden gets in on their third try. The Rock Hall's credentials and requisites say you need to have released music in the, starting with 25 years after your first release, you're eligible. Well, Iron Maiden is celebrating 50 years this year on tour as a band, and their first release was, what was it, 1978? So they are long overdue, about 22 years overdue for being in, or 32 years overdue. But anyway, glad they're in. Priest is in. Metallica's in. There's not a lot of Black Sabbath is in. There's not a lot of truly metal bands that are in. And we're going to talk about the possibility of future bands that are borderline metal or heavy metal or rock and metal, hard music bands. Can they actually get in? And some other bands that I find interesting should maybe get some play. So Maiden gets in. Billy Idol, I'm honestly surprised. He definitely has had a resurgence. There's a great documentary out about him right now. Billy Idol Should Be Dead. I'm hoping to watch it one of these coming weekends with my wonderful fiance, Melissa. I really was like, he's got hits. The majority of his huge numbers in sales has come from the last 15 years of streaming. He has had, obviously celebrated Ozzy Osbourne for his solo Hall of Fame induction last year. And so this is, it's nice that he's in. He's great. I don't think he's actually groundbreaking or inspired a lot of rockers, mainstream or punk. He's known for coming from the underground punk scene, from a band that wasn't very popular to having a huge, in the MTV era, huge radio presence. So, like, good for Billy Idol. I'm not mad. I'm not hating. I just was surprised he got in, if that makes any sense to you. Then there's Oasis. These two fucking dorks. Honestly, two of the worst people alive, but Oasis, who is not at all groundbreaking, but perhaps influential. They helped usher in an entire, era of Britpop and alternative rock in the 90s. A humongous band in Europe, about, as I've said on my other podcast, 3 or 4 times bigger than they are in the States. They are in their home country of the United Kingdom. I am always thinking back to the British Parliament episode, spoof of Saturday Night Live, where Will Ferrell says, "Can we not all agree that Oasis is the greatest band since the Beatles?" And people are like, "Poppycock, nonsense." So I think it's pretty funny. They managed to do a whole world tour last summer and last fall, surprising me that they didn't kill each other or break up on stage like they have many times in the past. It will be interesting to see if the former members of Oasis get to come to the Rock Hall and shit on them. And I didn't mention that Blaze Bayley, formerly of Iron Maiden, of the Iron Maiden middle era when Bruce quit in the 90s and then came back, he is being inducted with the proper band. So I think that's really rad and awesome. I'm a Blaze fan. Those records don't really hold up except for a couple of songs, but he is a wonderful singer. And if he hadn't joined the band, I don't know another singer that could have come in and, stepped in Bruce's shoes for a long time and been respected. Wu-Tang Clan, covered formerly by Ghost Cult. They're currently on their farewell tour. I have a whole story on YouTube under my War Stories with Keefe story and podcast. That series is coming back soon, with where I got to meet Wu-Tang Clan when I was a college radio journalist and broadcaster, and Method Man thought I was a narc with my long hair in a ponytail and my many pieces of paper doing the news. But Wu-Tang, good for Wu-Tang. They deserve it. So few, so many overrated rap artists are out there who are just trash to me, and Wu-Tang Clan has always kept it real. Tremendously original, iconic, universal, groundbreaking, inspirational, influential. They tick all the boxes, man. And I can't think of another group that's had as many side projects and spin-offs and solo albums that did as well. Probably no artist ever. So just really quick to just again to recap, this brings me to kind of who got nominated and snubbed, because I talked a lot about this last year and it seemed to hit with people. So just for a second, let's just talk about the people who were nominated but did not get in. Nominated but not in. Let's see. I had it up here a second ago. Slow as molasses. Incidentally, people snubbed that didn't get in include Lauryn Hill of the Fugees. I think maybe we'll talk about some of the other bands that got in a second. Black Crowes, I thought shouldn't be in. They're very derivative. Great band for the first 3 or 4 records, and then kind of, to me, not great. INXS, I thought maybe could get in, but Billy Idol maybe took the spot of INXS as an 80s hit band. Mariah Carey snubbed again. Not that I care that much, but I do. Pink didn't get in. Shakira didn't get in. These are 2 of the biggest selling artists of all time. Jeff Buckley, who I adore and love his music, and I can't even handle watching that documentary about him because I'm sad I'm going to cry a lot. He didn't get in, and I just didn't think he has like one really great record and a second record and a live record. And it's very, that was 30 years ago, and I don't really ever hear people talk about Jeff Buckley. He's a wonderful talent, but is there a lot of artists out there that sound like Jeff Buckley that are because of Jeff Buckley? And I don't think that's the case. But for the other winners, right, for the other inductees, we'll say, the other people getting in, Phil Collins, well-deserved as a solo artist, biggest selling solo artist of the entire 1980s, and the second biggest selling album of the 80s besides Michael Jackson Thriller. Incredible solo artist, completely made a whole new career for himself outside of Genesis, is in the Hall of Fame with Genesis. I love Phil Collins. I hope he can make the induction ceremony. I know he's rather ill. It's possible he can't, but I love Phil Collins, and I'm excited to hear some artists reinterpret Phil Collins' music. Joy Division New Order kind of surprised me. I love the band. I wasn't 100% sure they could get in. They were snubbed last year, and I think that the sort of putting them in together kind of helps other artists in future years, which we'll talk a lot about. I'm thrilled. Peter Hook put out a statement that he was just honored. Obviously, you know, there's going to be a lot of tributes to Ian Curtis for Joy Division, but also New Order, tremendously influential, great bands. It's really quite special that they got in, because I really wasn't sure they were going to. Oh, I mentioned Oasis already. Sade, I'm a little surprised. You know, wonderful talent, singular and unique, putting kind of like a jazz samba music into the pop lexicon. But the problem with Sade is one real hit album. I don't know a lot of artists that sound like Sade. I think I said to you, Melissa, like Nora Jones and a few other people, Lisa Loeb maybe a little bit, but like I don't know people are like grafting parts of Sade's, you know, style. She hasn't performed much. I know she missed a large part of her career on drugs. Nothing personal. A lot of people are on drugs. People watching this right now are on drugs. I'm on prescription drugs, but it just is what it is. I'm very surprised she got in, but it's nice that she got in. It'd be interesting to see if she can show up and perform. Sade the band, but it's named for her. It's Sade. Luther Vandross from the R&B world, incredible singer, very successful, 80, 90 million sales, but like very influential. Sang on a backup on a lot of pop albums you don't remember knowing he was on, including Michael Jackson, Tom Petty, Whitney Houston, who was his mentor as a singer. Like, he was a studio legend, and then he went solo and just has a body of work that's amazing. Great voice. Really nice that he got in. And I mentioned Wu-Tang Clan, really cool. It will be interesting and hopefully nice to see, because Wu-Tang is in there, hopefully Latifah and Light will get to participate in the rap part of it. I hope they have some Spanish artists to celebrate Celia Cruz, or maybe some pop artists to reinterpret her music. Graham Parsons, it seems, at least would partially get like a very nice, you know, thing. Nora Jones is the best connection. Fiona Apple, but Fiona Apple is so much more hard-edged and raw. Is much more like a, she's much more like a jazz rocker than Sade, who's a light jazz rocker. You know what I'm saying? Or Alicia Keys, who I always thought was pretty bland, except for a handful of hit songs. I'm not saying she's not talented. I just think she's whatever. But okay. And then I talked about who got snubbed. And so just really quick, who got in last year? Right? This is a precedent that helped this year, I think. Bad Company, Joe Cocker, Soundgarden, Ozzy getting in 2 years ago and being able to be there for it. So, like, I think Soundgarden getting in was nice. It didn't necessarily help any of the, Oasis is a contemporary of White Stripes, or a little before them. So it's just interesting that like White Stripes are in with a career mostly in the 2000s, and then Oasis gets in, really started in 93, 94. I don't even know if you know the story. Oasis got signed like on a fluke. They went to go play a show in Scotland, and they were opening for a very popular up-and-coming band that talent scouts were coming to see, and then they saw Oasis, and that's the band that made it. So it's wild that happened. Not quite a Mozart and a Salieri, but very interesting. So let's talk about some bands that I think should be in and that should have been in already. And I'm going to continue to beat this drum until I puke. Alice in Chains is, inarguably a better band than some of the other Seattle bands that are already in. To me, they're heavy, they're emotional, they have range. Their MTV Unplugged is probably the best Unplugged there is. They had a second career. They've sold a lot of records, maybe not the most records because they lost out on selling records they didn't get to tour enough when they could have probably sold in the tens of millions more records. But, an everlasting band that has they influenced Metallica, who's in the Hall of Fame. Load and Reload sound like the way it does because of Metallica and COC and Soundgarden. So just weird to me that they haven't even been nominated. Kind of weird. Now, I think because Joy Division and New Order got in, let's talk about Danzig and the Misfits. And I mentioned them last year. And I think even though we're getting not a lot of activity from Danzig or the Misfits, right now there are no Misfits shows announced for this year yet. That doesn't mean there won't be. Danzig has some solo stuff coming in, some festivals, and I think that means he's going to book a small tour. It is a Danzig anniversary this year. Illustrious Booge is here. Alex is here. What's up? What's up? What's up? TikTokers, hip hoppers, nonstop rockers. I love y'all. So I think maybe Danzig and Misfits, if that's like Misfits Danzig, maybe that puts him over the top because Joy Division New Order got in. I think Danzig should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Misfits should be in the Hall of Fame, surely. They created a whole subgenre of punk. They had an everlasting influence. I do think if the 90s Misfits, as much as I dislike Michael Graves, who's a horrible Proud Boy person, oh boy, I'm getting canceled shows in Europe. I wonder why. Well, I wonder why. I think it's interesting that if that era of Misfits didn't happen, I don't know that there would be a Misfits now, the last few years where we saw them. They really haven't even done that, maybe a whole 10 shows tops in 2 or 3 years since they decided to do the original Misfits comeback. So I think there is a swell of popularity. The Danzig reissues on vinyl that just came out. I think it's very possible you could see Danzig and Misfits get in. Okay, I'm going to try to pick it up a little now. Dio, I talked about this. We just reviewed on the Glacially Musical podcast that I'm part of the new Heaven and Hell box set. Heaven and Hell is basically Dio and Sabbath again. They were not allowed to be called Black Sabbath because the plans were already in place for Ozzy to get back with Sabbath one more time. But I think Dio, between Rainbow, his solo career, Black Sabbath, it's kind of a terrible omission that he's not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Rainbow is not in the Hall of Fame, but Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore is in with Deep Purple, so maybe there's less impetus to put him in. Planet Rock and Roll is here. What's up? What's up? So maybe there's just less pressure to put him in. But Dio, it's kind of an oversight at this point. He needs to be in. Great singer, influential, charismatic, and influenced many genres of music, not just heavy metal. So Tool, I think, is like the first real modern band of the last 30 years that, beside Alice in Chains, that's a little older than them. I think Tool probably should be in and could get in the next few years. I think there's a tremendous popularity that Tool continues to enjoy. They have stayed out on the road much longer than I expected. They are enormously successful at touring and making money, which is why they don't stop and go make a new record, although apparently progress is being made on at least an EP from Danny Carey, Adam Jones, and Justin Chancellor. I think Maynard's high profile because of Pussifer and A Perfect Circle. He's constantly busy and active, and he always has something new and creative out. I think Tool is probably the first band of that alternative rock and metal era that will probably get in. I know Jane's Addiction is already in. Faith No More would be the next one up to me. I'm very disappointed about the Patton, basically no interest in ever reuniting with Faith No More. If I were Faith No More, even though this kind of breaks my heart, they should just go get a new singer and come back out as Faith No More and even just do the hits. I don't care. Mike doesn't care. Those guys should be making their music they made. I think it sucks. AI on TikTok thinks we're talking about 2023, when we're talking about, I mentioned 2023 once for a second. We are talking about the 2026 class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. Faith No More, even though they broke up in 97 and didn't come back till 2008 or 9, absolutely essential, important, iconic band, has to be in the Hall of Fame somehow. Pantera is having a renaissance with their new formation of Pantera with Philip Anselmo, Zakk Wylde, Charlie Benante of Anthrax, and Rex Brown. Pantera is touring the world with Metallica. The profile is absolutely elevated. They are also been able to headline their own tours or co-headline tours. And so even do arenas, which even, back when they were doing arenas, it was for a very brief period of time. So really impressive. I think Pantera, if they can get over kind of the stigma of, Philip's past mistakes, I think it's possible they could get in. I think there's a lot of sentiment that they should be in, um, especially for the brothers being passed away now. Feels like they should be in. And in terms of the heavy bands, maybe they are the heaviest band that could get in. Linkin Park just seems mind-boggling to me that they're not in. They are the biggest selling band of the 2000s, and Chester died tragically, and we're coming up on that anniversary, which is very sad for me, but absolutely their comeback should be an indication that they are an everlasting popular band. That new record was good. I liked it. I definitely didn't hate it. I liked it. But they sold out an arena tour all over the world in places the original Linkin Park never played. Africa, Dubai, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, like absolutely sold out arenas everywhere. Real ticket sales, not bots and empty seats. Those shows were sold out. And I think Emily Armstrong has lived up to the challenge, as hard as it was for her. System of a Down. So here's another band, humongous, especially they're more popular now than they ever were, partially because they were gone for a long time. And I think with Rick Rubin getting in, you might see the Rick Rubin bands get him to stump for them, like System of a Down. So I think it's very interesting that he's in, and so maybe System will get in as a result of Rick Rubin being in. Korn is another band, celebrated 30 years the last few years. Not quite an arena level band, but they are headlining Sick New World Las Vegas in a couple of weeks that Ghost Cult is covering. Keep it to ghostcultmag.com for the review coverage of that coming soon from our team. And just a huge influential band. They were the first new metal band by all, intents and purposes of the true dawn of the genre. Korn should be in. Great photo here by Kim Hansen, who is also incidentally going to cover Sick New World. And speaking of Kim Hansen, here's another photo of Kim's. Deftones. Again, Sick New World. Deftones as popular as they ever were. I watched them this time a year ago, headline in Arena, where they even joked that like 25, 30 years ago, they would have a hard time filling up the smallest room in the city. And they did the Chase Center where the Golden State Warriors play. So, thanks to everybody that's watching on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook. I appreciate you and y'all on the tick of the talk. So Deftones, I think it might be a hard sell for some of the older boomerish people in the voting crew, the voting class, but like Deftones is a band that probably I would say they should be getting in soon. It's now 31 years since their first release, and they've been a band for 36, 7 years. And we just had the anniversary of the passing of Chi Cheng, their original bass player, who I was a huge fan of. Slipknot's another band, maybe next to Metallica, the biggest band in the world in terms of heavy music. And again, like they have have their own lifestyle website that is bigger than all the other little metal websites combined. They have their own festivals. They had their own crews at one point. They have their own clothing and merch drops constantly. They have spawned several solo and other band careers for other people. Late Joey Jordison's other bands and side projects. Corey Taylor's solo career in Stone Sour. So kind of mind-blowing that they haven't even been nominated at least once. It's weird, actually. But again, Slayer, in a just and true world, Slayer would be the next band in after Metallica in terms of popularity and influence in thrash metal. But, will they put Slayer in? They're so evil and dark. Maybe it's funny and fun. They'll put them in, but also like I could see just all the, having to talk about serial killers and World War II Holocaust themes and things like that. I was trying to find a polite way to say this without dropping the N-bomb, not the one you're thinking, the other one. And so, yeah, I'd love to see Slayer get in just because it would make people uncomfortable and it would be fun, but maybe not. Maybe it's better that they don't get in. Same with Motorhead. Motorhead really is an influential band, should have been in a long time ago, and we'll start talking about this caliber of bands, but Lemmy, absolute icon. Motorhead, absolutely iconic. No one, a lot of bands now want to sound like them. There's a whole underground of bands right now that wish they were Motorhead to varying degrees. Blackened Motorhead, thrashier Motorhead, crusty Motorhead, but Motorhead is Motorhead. They play rock and roll. Smashing Pumpkins, kind of along the same lines as a lot of the grunge bands. I know they were kind of the next rung down, but really they are as popular as they have ever been. They've been doing arena tours all over the world. They have another bunch of tours and festivals lined up soon, and they just their star keeps growing and growing. It seems like that's a band with legs to still grow. I was gifted that wonderful Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness box set last year, and it really made my whole life. It was wonderful, really reconnected me to the band and how great that album was and how defining for a generation it was. Hole will have a new album later this year. Don't know who else is in the band beside Courtney Love, who is also working on her memoir. Often imitated, never duplicated, overhated. I love Hole and Courtney Love. She has a direct influence on every grunge band. She was the original singer of Faith No More, although she didn't last too long. She's much more important to music than you realize, and she should be in a right and just world in the Hall of Fame. Cranberries are having kind of a wave of resurgence as their legacy albums are getting full reissue treatments, including Everybody Is Doing It, so why can't we? And No Need to Argue. And, Dolores had her life cut down sadly and tragically, but, brilliant, singular, great talent, poppy, catchy, wonderful, emotional, all the boxes, has 4 or 5 albums. She tried to kind of launch a solo career. Not sure if they will be top of mind to get in, but they surely should be considered. A lot of Cranberries music is used in movies and television that I think people don't realize. Queens of the Stone Age is a band maybe on the next run down from the last 25 years. Obviously, Josh Homme. Again, maybe Caius and Queens of the Stone Age get in together. That would be super awkward for some of those guys. I think it'd be interesting and fun. There's a lot of like fake internet stories about Caius reuniting. It's not happening. But I think Josh has a lot of, generally speaking, goodwill. Not the best guy, battling his demons, battling illnesses, but hopefully he's kicked it all and they're going to come back on tour. And I'd love to see Queens of the Stone Age get it. They absolutely deserve to be in. I know they've got maybe 5 or 6 albums in 25 years, or 27 or 28 years. It's almost 30 years as a band since Caius broke up. So Queens would be interesting to see if they got in. Megadeth, I would love for Dave Mustaine to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think Slayer probably can't get in. Megadeth maybe could get in as the more technical equivalent to Metallica. I think it would be very gratifying for Dave to get in and get to be there. He should have been there for Metallica. He was intended to be inducted. He declined to come. He was invited. What can you do? I love Megadeth. I hope to see them on tour with Iron Maiden, and I'd love to see them get in. Speaking of, my other favorite thrash metal band, and really one of my second favorite thrash metal band ever, is Anthrax. I'm from the Bronx, New York. I have an Anthrax patch on my battle vest. What's up, Rob Rage? And Mike Alicious on TikTok. I'd love to see Anthrax get in the Hall of Fame. 2 singers, 3 different sounds and genre changes in their career, at least. Much more than just a metal band, not much more than just a satanic buffoonery and swords and sorcery. Really topical, interesting, diverse band, and obviously, clearly, Bring the Noise and I'm the Man are tremendous movements in music, and really, for better or worse, invented rap metal. Uncle Jorm says Rust in Peace is the perfect album. It is the perfect album. My other podcast, Glacially Musical, which you can look up Glacially Musical on YouTube, we just reviewed the first 4 Megadeth records, and we hit on Rust in Peace as a 10 of 10 perfect album. Mostly 2 of the 3 of us on the podcast said it was a perfect album. And then the other guy. Anyway. Who else do I have here? Lamb of God, I think in terms of the modern bands, Gojira might be a little ahead of them because of the Olympics thing. And I don't think Lamb of God could get in before, let's say, a Pantera could get in, but I think there's a lot of tremendous respect for Lamb of God. And in a weird, bizarre way, because of Randy's incarceration and the like how big that was in the scene for him to come home and be acquitted of murder in Czech Republic, maybe that has the profile of Lamb of God big. But they are coming off another incredible album, 7 albums in 30 years as a band, plus 1 album is Burn the Priest, plus a covers album is Burn the Priest. But Lamb of God, really the consummate modern metal band of the last 20 years for sure, along with Mastodon. So here's Gojira. Again, the Olympics has raised their profile. I think when Gojira drops this next record, I could see them headlining arenas and having like all the fire and everything, the smoke and all the things. They're bigger still in Europe than America, but they're certainly getting huge here now. Typo Negative is a band I did not talk about, but I have Typo Negative on the brain. It is the anniversary of Pete's death, and I feel like Typo Negative did not get enough of their due. They definitely sold a lot of records. At one point, Typo Negative was the biggest selling band on Roadrunner, topped later on by Slipknot in 1999, although not initially. Maybe it took a couple of years. And then topped again by, unfortunately, Nickelback. But Typo Negative really put Roadrunner, maybe didn't put them on the map, but it absolutely established them as a force to be reckoned with in the music industry. And bands, they like those bands that came out after Typo Negative, you know, or alongside of them, Life of Agony, Sepultura, who were a little before them, but Machine Head, Fear Factory, these bands are all given a big berth because Typo Negative kicked the door in with Peter's especially large boots. And you'll be looking out for a Typo Negative live album, which is being mixed right now, as well as perhaps a tribute concert to Peter at some point with the release of that album. Living Colour is a band a lot of people don't talk enough about. I love Living Colour. They've been around since the mid-'80s. Started putting out music with 88's debut, and they really are an unfuckwithable force. I would really love to see them get in. It would be really special for me as a longtime fan. There are probably few singers as good as Corey Glover in the whole planet, just seriously. And you can kind of say that about everybody in that band. Rammstein is a band, I think their popularity is a little sneaky. They are hugely popular. Obviously, they're like in Europe, they have like collaborations with the fashion brand Balenciaga for like $1,000 fanny packs and shoes. I think I'm a little surprised at Till Lindemann's solo career and how big it's become and how like grandiose he's getting with his own festival now just announced. So I think Rammstein's kind of got like a outside chance of getting in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame someday. The spectacle, the thing they built, the singularity of the Dutch New Heart style of music, I think they can claim all that, at least as leaders, and certainly the most popular band. STP, the mind boggles, similar to Pumpkins and Chains. How are they not even nominated yet to get in? That seems mean. I know Weiland is dead. They are a killer band with their current singer, Jeff Gutt, who does a hell of a Weiland. Their original music with Jeff is great. I hope they will come out with a new full-fledged album, but seems like there's a lot of money in playing the hits for them. I saw them do Purple about a year and a half ago. It was unbelievable. It's my favorite STP record is Purple. Bjork is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's kind of weird. She should be in. She is a brilliant talent. I know she hasn't done as much, and maybe some of the like similar to Mike Patton, like all of her wide-ranging stuff has kind of shrunk in recent times. And for her, political activism and films and things like that have taken an equal standing to her music. But Bjork is one of the most original and singular artists we've ever had, and she absolutely should be in. It's weird that she's not in. Again, I'm going to beat the drum for Thin Lizzy, one of my favorite bands. She easily should be talked alongside of Sabbath, Zeppelin, you know, Pink Floyd, Blue Oyster Cult, all the progressive rock bands. And they just don't get their due because they never broke in America. But they're much more than the greatest hits that they have. Much more than The Boys Are Back in Town and Jailbreak. They have so many great songs. And Whiskey in the Jar. Pixies got to get in at some point, I think, for alternative rock. I was a Pixies fan in high school. Had the Surfer Rosa and Doolittle tape. And I had them both dubbed on a tape, on a 120-minute Denon tape that I used to play in my auto reverse cassette player. And Pixies are just an all-time great band. It'd be interesting to see them have to reunite on stage together to put Kim and Frank, and Frank there, Black Frank there, Frank Black, Black Francis, whatever he calls himself now. But yeah, should be in. Let's talk about some punks. L7's another band, again, I talked about last year. I really love. Really should get a lot more credit alongside a Hole and Bikini Kill. Sublime with a brand new album coming out with Jacob Noel. Sublime feels like a band that is much deeper than just a good time ska punk pop band that we know. I think they could get in someday. Here is Creed. Don't laugh. I think Creed will get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in about 5 years. They are also a 2000s band, or 99 to 2000s band, and the King of the Mohe, and I think they should probably get in. I got to meet Scott Stapp, and he's really nice and cool. I interviewed Tremonti a few times, including for his Frank Sinatra music record and performance, and love those guys. But yeah, Creed probably should get in. Killing Joke, again, if Joy Division and New Order got in, maybe Killing Joke can get in. I don't know, but they should. I shot this photo. It's a pretty cool photo I'm very proud of. Ministry, maybe, again, too extreme. Drugs, sex, rock and roll, maybe too much. Like Slayer, too evil to get in. But I'd love to see Ministry get in. It would be a tremendous validation. And, Al would just be like, middle fingers up. The hell with this. But I think it'd be fun if he got to get in. Bad Religion, we recently covered. This is a shot by Omar Cordy from the Brooklyn Bridge as a backdrop. Bad Religion is the quintessential, to me, American punk band after the Ramones, and I really think they should be in. Again, Bikini Kill, same story as L7 and Hole, really overlooked and ought to be in. Here's Bad Religion. I think the other picture was Devo. I'm sorry. I'm getting tired. I had 2 coffees today, and I'm still tired. Suicidal, my heart says yes, probably not, but, the name Suicidal is probably the thing that keeps them out, but I dearly love Suicidal Tendencies. Influential for both punk and thrash metal. Melvin's, NoFX, I think now that they're broken up and retired and that documentary came out, which hasn't kind of hit streaming yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I think NoFX probably can get in eventually. Same can be said for Blink-182, who ripped off NoFX. I wouldn't be surprised if Blink-182 gets in next year. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't love them, but I think they will get in. Fishbone is a band, considering that Red Hot Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction are in. Fishbone would be the third of that alternative rock genre blending type of band. We have a great interview on our YouTube channel with my co-owner Omar Cordy and Angela Moore. Fishbone new, reimagined new album, their re-release of one of their classic albums alongside of a whole album of covers by contemporary punks. Really great. And that's the show. Tell me in the comments, Three Dog Night. I feel like they had some big hits. Maybe they're too small a band to get in by themselves, Thanks, Back. I appreciate you coming in. Who else should get in? Drop a comment if you're watching this on the replay or listening to the podcast version of this. Drop a comment. And Grand Funk had millions and millions of album sales. I just don't know that they have the clout, the fan love. Grand Funk, it's interesting. My podcast, we did 6 Grand Funk records as a review. And they have hits. I wasn't quite sure why those records sold tons of platinum albums, because they were very mid, to be honest, except for the big hits. But great band. Small Faces. Is that who you're asking about? I don't know, man. I don't know. Grand Funk, maybe. I didn't think Triumph should be on tour, touring arenas and giant theaters right now. Triumph's a fine band. I enjoy some of their songs. They are not like Rush. Tower of Power should definitely be in. Tower of Power should be in. That's a great one. Triumph, good band, but there are other Canadian bands that are better than them and bigger than them that are not in. So, just curious. I'd like to see some more of the thrash bands get in. I'd love to see a Mastodon get in. I'd love to see a Lamb of God and a Gojira get in someday from this era of music. And then really, I think it's a little too soon for your metalcore bands. I get asked all the time about Killswitch and, that ilk of bands. And I just think it's a little too soon for them to get in. But it is 25 years after a lot of them have come out now. Unearth goes back to the late 90s. Hatebreed would be an interesting band if they got on the ballot because they kind of popularized sort of metallic hardcore and metalcore and just basically took the Slayer model with a little better singing. I respect Josta. I'm going to Milwaukee Metal Fest, so if you're out there, look for me and say what's up. Give me a crisp high five. But Nugent, man, Uncle Jorms, I fucking can't do Ted Nugent, bro. He's a pedo and he's a racist. I have nothing good to say. Was he a great guitar player? Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, Three Dog Night. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, they sold millions of records. That's true. But again, supposedly, according to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, record sales are not a defining factor of getting in. Look, Mariah Carey is the biggest selling female artist of all time, and she did not get in yet. Lauryn Hill has one huge banger album. Hey, from London, Ian Holmes. Thank you for being here. Lauryn Hill has one huge banger album as a solo artist and one huge banger album with the Fugees and nothing else except like a bad reputation in the industry. So, I mean, I think she's brilliant, but like that's probably what's going to keep her out. Mariah should probably get in at some point. She's too big and too talented. She's very talented. I just don't think people like her. She's not likable. I guess it is a popularity contest. I mean, I can't do Nugent though. I'm sorry. I saw Tool cover Stranglehold with Buzz from the Melvins. That's about the best Ted Nugent memory I've ever had. And in terms of those 90s bands that really hit home for me, and it took a long time for, Rage to get in, and they weren't going to accept it. So Soundgarden's in, I gotta believe some more metal bands can get in someday. Alice in Chains Alice in Chains STP gotta be next. And then I think because of Little Feat, man, I love Little Feat is probably one of the most underrated bands of all time. And again, Thin Lizzy is not in from that era. I think the Doobies are in. So it's interesting that Little Feat is not in because I would consider them a contemporary. I love Lowell George. Also too short a career, but they have continued on without Lowell. Mountain probably should be in, dude. They were maybe even arguably one of the first heavy metal bands. West is an incredible guitar player and really I'd rather listen to Leslie West today than Clapton. I grew up on Clapton. I saw him in concert. He does nothing for me personally. Love to see Mountain get in. If anybody else has got a few more, I'll hang on a few more minutes. It is 12:30 Pacific in California, and I need to get on with the end of my night. But if there's anybody else you think should be in that is not in, drop a comment. I will answer back after. Again, thanks for watching. We had a very nice viewership considering this was done late at night. I'll be back on maybe tomorrow with another live stream. I have a top secret mission, and then I'm going to see Behemoth and Deicide and Rotting Christ and Immolation at the Regency Ballroom here in San Francisco, despite my disdain for the sound of that place. I will see many folks from the city who love metal. Yeah, I mean, Mountain, arguably, I think Cream with Politician to me is like the first song that you could call metal. And then, I mean, again, I know Iommi continues to say we're not metal, but it's metal. You can, hey, Chucky, what up, brother? Always great to see you, Chucky Brown. Keep me posted on what you got going on, Chucky. I always want to promote and help you. DM me, email me, whatever you got to do, bro. I got you. We got you. Whatever you got going on in the city. Omar is still out there. I'm coming through hopefully later this year or if not sometime next year. But I really appreciate you, Chucky. You're one of the real ones. But yeah, man. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Maiden made it finally. Grew up with a lot of music. Dude, same. I was born a little too late to see some of my heroes, but I did see a lot of cool bands in the 80s. If you're new here, I always say please like and subscribe. That helps us. And again, if you didn't like what you saw, you disagree with me, also comment, because I read all of them and I comment on all of them. And I don't mind getting some heat and some smoke. It helps me become better. I'm Keefe at ghostcultmag.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Check out ghostcultmag.com for all your heavy metal, rock and metal and hardcore and punk and death metal and doom needs. And I'm out. See you tomorrow. It is tomorrow. See you later. Peace.